most men are just kind of trapped. Like they're just desperately silent. Like you're stuck in a job that maybe you're not happy with, or you don't have the courage to take that risk, to start that business.
If I get my master's degree, 20 years later, I'm gonna be making something around $5,000, and that month I had just made $6,000. So to me, I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm gonna have to figure out a different way to do that.
Hiring that assistant immediately shifted my mind to start thinking of ways to now become a business owner. Even though I probably fucked them up, I think helped me graduate that phase. The very little that I knew or was learning, I started teaching them. There's like 13 of us now.
Crazy. But I truly believe that the best days are ahead of us. And it's got a lot to do with how I feel about the person that I look at in the mirror every fucking morning, bro.
If somebody doesn't give you that opportunity, or they don't see that thing in you that maybe at the time you don't even see in yourself, the trajectory of life would probably go in a completely different path. That's what changed lives means to me.
Guess who I got in the house today? He goes by the GOAT.
He goes by the GOAT. The world wants to know, how did you get that nickname, bro? The Wealth Gap podcast, where, do you know what the average median income is in the US? You don't have to, bro.
No.
All you need to know is it's under 6 figures.
Okay.
Did you know that 90% of the US makes under $150,000 a year? You've been making that since, like, I think you hit it year 1 or year 2.
Yeah.
Year 2, no?
We technically year 1-ish.
Oh shit, that's crazy. And this last year, you hit multiple 6 figures. I'm just really proud of you, brother. You're the fucking GOAT. I called it. I called my shot with you. I rarely do that because sometimes you can't really tell when someone is gonna knock it out the park by just looking at them, because the traits, the values, the traits that make someone great can't be seen at service level. Their hunger, their humility, their patience, their pain tolerance, and you can't see those, bro. You can't put it on a resume.
Yeah.
But you got it, brother. So, welcome. The GOAT is here, and it's an honor, brother.
To answer your question about how I got the nickname, well, I think it started with you in many different ways. It started with you when we met at the time that I was a teacher sitting across from you. I think at the time you had already developed yourself enough to, like you call it, have the Dragon Ball Z lens. How does it go?
Yeah. You can see someone's power.
Yeah.
You can read and, oh shit, he's got incredible power. He's just, Saiyans have the ability to keep it, or actually people in Earth, because I just knocked out DBZ a little bit ago with Judy. She got heated because I went through the series quick, and I guess they could lower their power if they choose, and they could raise it up with their emotions.
Yeah.
And I read your shit with
so the point is you already had that lens at the time, and unbeknownst to me, I really don't know what it was, whether it was the way that I
just about everything, bro.
Presented myself, or I don't know, because I don't even think, thinking back then, like looking at photos of myself from back then, I remember I have a picture in my phone a year or two before that happened, and when I was like going to one of Monica's events, and I was still with you, I was all
suited up,
pimped out. I had my hair long. I had like a slick back, and it's really interesting to look back at and be like, wow, like who's that guy?
Take us back. What has been the biggest change? What you look back at Alex, I don't know, January 2020. Mm-hmm. What's changed in your experience?
I think the biggest thing that's changed since then in myself has been my self-identity. I think, you hear the word mindset thrown around a lot, right? But I feel like the Alex back then was just kind of going through the motions of life, kind of in a reactive way, not really grabbing life by the horns or taking control of it. And I think the Alex now has done a lot more development. Definitely have read a ton of more books, studied a lot of different people in business and leadership. And so I feel like the Alex today sitting in front of you is in a lot more control. I got my foot on the gas.
Yeah.
And in the past, I was probably just in cruise control.
Yeah.
Like most people, I feel, if you're not surrounded by good people, or they find a fucking God heaven sent leader like yourself, you kind of get stuck in the mundane. There's a saying that says, many men lead lives of silent desperation.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so there's many men lead lives of silent desperation, meaning like most men are just kind of trapped. Like they're just desperately silent. Like, you know, you're stuck in a job that maybe you're not happy with, or you don't have the courage to take that risk, to start that business, or, you know, build that new partnership. And so I feel like that Alex was leading a life of silent desperation, you know, even though I already had graduated college. You know, I graduated Fresno State, went to school to be a teacher, became a teacher. I was at 2020 Alex was at the end of that 4-year teaching journey that I was on. But yeah, I think that was the biggest difference, was I was just kind of going through the motions back then.
You shared something earlier at our training, which I love to see you run meetings and share everything you've learned over the years. Very few people can do it like you. I think you're also discovering that right now, because you see Ninja Brian do his thing,
Yeah.
and he's powerful, and you're very good at like reciprocating, like doing what he does with our team. Mm-hmm. It's incredible. But in our training, you shared that in an Excel sheet, you were able to look into, I don't know, 30 years into the future as a teacher. Mm-hmm. And it said, well, with these credentials or this diploma, in these many years, you can earn up to X amount. Algo me pasó similar a mí, bro. So yo cuando decidí que iba a cambiar mi carrera, fui a la casa de mi hermana. And I was barely gonna start getting into mortgages. Mm-hmm. And Mari had her master's degree. Mm-hmm. And she had been teaching for close to 20 years. And there was an envelope in her kitchen table. Y ahí voy, lo abrí to see how much she made that month. Y eran como 9,000 y feria. Well, 9,000 y feria gross, but it was like 5,000 something net. And I was like, holy fuck, I have my bachelor's and I'm new in the teaching industry or field. That means that if I get my master's degree, 20 years later, I'm gonna be making something around $5,000. And that month, I had just made $6,000 selling solar. Mm-hmm. So to me, I'm like, oh, hell no. Oh, fuck that. Like, I love the youngsters. I would love to make an impact. I would love to give back and be the friend I wish I had when I was in school and I had ambition, but I needed help. But I'm gonna have to figure out a different way to do that. Yeah. You had something similar happen.
Yeah. So what you're talking about, it's called the salary schedule. Anybody that's in the teaching world will know exactly what I'm talking about. And one thing you should know about me is, like, I've never really been driven by money. Although my mom will tell you that, like, cuando era niño, era bien pinche codo conmigo. You know, like, if I had $20, like, I wanted to spend your money. I didn't want to spend mine. Yeah. So I've always been, I guess, conservative in that sense, but never really driven by money in the sense where I'm like, you know. So there's a salary schedule that you can see entry level teacher, right? So it goes number of years, columns, and then level of education, rows. So you get to see, okay, I'm in year 1. I graduated with my BA and I got just my BA. I haven't done any additional education. They call it continued education. So you can literally see on that salary schedule, okay, I'm here now. If I keep going to school and I go earn another 20 units and then I'm in year 15, right now I'm at 52,000, I'm gonna be at 68,000, un ejemplo. And I just remember thinking, like, nah, bro, like, fuck that. Like, that's crazy. And the crazy thing to me now is that, having been in mortgages for 5 years now, which is also a crazy concept for me to comprehend how fast the time has gone by, is that now there's times where I've qualified people that have gone to school, you know, and I mean, I've never taken anything away from education. I think education is fantastic. You know, people that go on to get their master's and their PhD and then a double PhD and then a fucking, I don't know, triple PhD. But I gotten the chance to see, like, even qualify some family friends sometimes that are like a principal, for example. And then you get to see, okay, this person makes, I don't know, call it, you know, 115, 120, but they have $300,000 worth of student debt. Yeah, student loans that they're most likely never going to pay off, which just kind of puts things into perspective, because there's different vehicles, right? Like, We happen to be in a very good vehicle. I like to think the mortgage vehicle, which we love what we do, pays really well. We get to serve our community and our people and our Latinos. Requires very little to no, education in that sense. We're like going to school, but it trips me out to see how sometimes people will go, they'll invest 4, 6, 8, 10 years of their life to study a trade, maybe be a doctor or whatever, teacher or principal or whatever, and then they're indebted for life.
Yeah.
And then they're just kind of now working that career to just break even there. That trips me out.
So we had a crazy talk yesterday on the way back from the event. Tú tienes tu equipo, se está desarrollando muy bonito. Ahí está Beto. I'd love to have him on here pretty soon. But ¿cómo te sientes tú ahora que tú tienes tu generación debajo de ti? Los estás mirando desenvolverse very much like you were a few years ago.
Yeah, so it's really interesting to me because it all happened so fast. Literally, 5 years ago, in February, March of 2020, COVID was about to break out, right? And I remember, if you ask any teacher, we always know when our next vacation or break is going to be. So I remember I was 3 weeks away from spring break. And at that time, I had already met you. We had already gone to Grant Cardone. My life was already I was just hungry. I had somebody, you turn on my light switch, I like to call it, right? And so then I remember go on spring break coming up. Somebody tells us hey, just FYI, you guys might not come back. This thing called COVID's coming. And I remember thinking, Diosito, que no regresemos a la chingada. And then go on spring break, COVID breaks out, world goes crazy. I get to stay home. And so, during that time, I got licensed very quickly.
Yeah.
I got licensed in maybe 4 to 6 months, passed both tests, knocked them out. By June, I think I had already hired an assistant.
That's crazy.
And I don't have any sales experience. I've never worked a sales job. I don't have solar background, fucking PG&E. Nothing. I've just labor, worked in the fields.
Yeah.
A little bit of retail, worked in the juvenile hall, probably helping with leadership kinda. And then I taught, And everything I did, I always just jumped in, nose first.
Yeah.
And so, you recommended. I was and I would go into Willie's trainings with. I think we went to EMA, and the consejo was pues no, you need overhead. And I was okay, pues we hired an assistant. I didn't know what I was doing. She didn't know what she was doing. I didn't know how to lead. But what I explained at our meeting this morning was, most people fail to have that shift from when you talk about the rich dad, poor dad, and it has those 4 quadrants. Wage earner or employee, and then self-employed, business owner, investor. So I was not, unbeknownst to me, I had just graduated to the self-employed, but hiring that assistant immediately shifted my mind to start thinking of ways to now become a business owner. Mm-hmm. So those early reps, even though I probably fucked them up, I think helped me graduate that phase, because now eventually you started putting people under me. You said, hey, there's new loan officers coming in, you want to introduce them? Yeah. So the very little that I knew or was learning, I started teaching them, and now it's been 5 years of that. So it's been pretty cool to now have, Beto and Brody and now Brenda and partner Trina and Myra, and so there's 13 of us now.
Crazy.
And it's just been that, brother. It's just been following your footsteps of servant leadership and giving the people in my circle the best I got and teaching them everything that I know with good intentions and a pure heart, and the rest taking care of itself.
And you're doing incredible, bro.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, it's very rewarding for me to see. And I know that in this season you've said, man, I'm starting to experience some of the things I'm sure you've gone through. I get it now. I'm sitting on this side of the table now. Y digo yo, no, fuck, now finally someone feels me, I think it's pretty dope.
Yeah, so it's so interesting to see, because I've always been conscious of you sharing your scars, so that
les digo, maybe too much.
Yeah,
I've been told.
Well, you do have a very curtain, what is it called, open curtain approach.
Yeah,
which is dope. So you've always shared I could see it happening real time, you know, when you had fallouts with people or people would leave or whatever, and you would share like, look, this was my takeaway from this experience. Don't be fucking naive to the fact that it's going to happen to you down the road. Of course, you hear it at the time, but sometimes a message doesn't hit you until you're ready to receive it.
Yeah.
You know, and so then it's been cool to be able to think back to all those things like, oh, I remember when he said this was going to happen, and oh shit, it's actually happening now. You know, but you don't really know until it's happening in front of you, you know. And then if you don't stop to think like, oh shit, like I've seen this before. Like somebody, where did I hear that? And a lot of times it was you having shared or me thinking back to experiences that you had already gone through. And
so eso se siente bien chingón de que we're going through, Ray Dalio calls it, we're going through the jungle of life. Mm-hmm. And we're going through unknown territory. And we're in the jungle, and there's wild animals, there's creeks, there's just a bunch of threats. And I'm going through this path, and I'm picking up scars. And then I'm just able to look back, and you're probably the closest one to me right now. And I'm telling you, brother, when you cross that river, careful, because there's this, there's that. Make sure you keep telling those that are right behind you, and then it's on you to tell, hey, Justin, hey, check this out, Vic, hey, Fernandini. Y está bien chingón, bro, pero ahí vamos, ahí fucking making it happen, and you guys are moving much faster. You guys are avoiding big mistakes. You're staying coachable. You guys are doing really, really well. And I love that you guys are staying humble, and you guys are staying hungry. So when we talk about hunger, for me, I take a lot of pride, bro, in my last name.
yeah.
If I don't have my phone with me, but today in the morning, I was going to come up with a presentation that I was going to share with you guys, but I'm like, I'll leave it for another time. But I looked at the pictures from my wedding, and I haven't really gone through, there's hundreds of pictures from the wedding. Pero uno que me encantó es donde me agarraron bailando con mamá, y yo pues ahí llore.
That was dope.
And I can't help but think of who I do it for, the last name that I do it for, who I'm representing, how proud I'm making them. That's where my hunger comes from. What comes to mind when I talk about hunger, and like, who are you doing it for? What makes you hungry?
Yeah, very similar, brother. I think, so my dad was one of 13, right? He was like middle of the pack, kind of split, even, you know, males and females. But I got to see my grandpa live until he was 99. I really thought he was gonna make it to 100, especially because I'm carrying his DNA, and I was like, fuck yeah, if he makes it to 100, maybe I got a chance. So at one point, I remember, you know, being my early 20s, mid 20s, and having my grandpa come to visit from Mex. He was like 97 at the time. And then having my pop was good and healthy. And then I was like, there was a picture of us sitting next to each other. It was my grandpa, my pop, myself, and I was holding one of my daughters in my lap. And I remember thinking, damn, like these are the 4 generations of Martinez, and I got the ones above me to my right. And then my grandpa made it to 99, passed away in 2021. And then a year later, my dad passed away in 2022. So I was really aware that I shifted seats like really fast. And the 2 generations before me just were like no longer there, you know? And so I think of myself as like now I carry the last name, you know? Like now I have my son who also is gonna carry it. But that's what drives me, is that like that analogy of like, bro, you shifted over the seats. Now you're the grandpa.
That's crazy.
You know what I mean? So that is what keeps my fire lit, for sure. And because now you know, I've always got to see how big my family is on my grandpa's side, because he's so many kids, and so you can imagine all the cousins and primas, and so that's always inspired me to have a bunch of kids. But I mean, I have my 3. I got my boy, you know, and the only thing that I can hope is that like he carries the lineage. Yeah, that's
Like
Seriously,
a lot.
bro. Yeah, he looks exactly like my dad. So, yeah, that's what keeps me going.
I'm sure they're really proud of you, brother.
Appreciate you.
¿Cómo te ve la familia? I know I'm very close today. I celebrate my brother Alex's birthday.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to go see him. I love that I get to do this with my sister. You've known her for several years now. And to me, that's the most beautiful thing, that God has gifted us so many years together and we get to experience amazing memories together. But like, how is it for you? How has this journey impacted the core, the relationship with mom, with your siblings?
Yeah.
How's that been?
Well, I mean, it's probably not something that we talk about a lot, like within the family, but I can definitely see a change in how they act with me or they treat me, or but I've always kind of been the golden child, you know, like every family has like their golden child, and my siblings always used to talk shit when I was a kid because that was always me. And so I like to think that came from having soft skills as a kid, you know. And there was one time where because I have all women in my family, bro. It's all women. Like, it's just a bunch of like chicken heads clucking all the time when we get together. So they talk a lot of shit, right? And so there was one time where I don't know, one of them was like, no, pues el favorito. And my mom was like, well, look, okay, you got 2 kids, right? One of them shows up, doesn't say anything to anybody, goes straight to the room. Adult males, by the way. The other one shows up, greets everybody, ¿Cómo estás? Buenas tardes, un abrazo. Like, so that was always me growing up, you know? And so then, of course, parents see that. And, but yeah, so it really hasn't changed how family treats me, but I think now they've come to terms with, like, they respect it. Mm-hmm. At the beginning, when I changed from going from because I have like older cousins that, one of them is self-employed. She always kind of has been the voice and like the eyes and just look out for this. And so a lot of them didn't believe when I changed. Like, they thought I was crazy, bro. Like, a lot, especially my parents, because, like,
they want security.
Yeah, they wanted security because they never had it. And so then the generations, their generation, our parents' generation, a lot of times they were first generation immigrants who they were the ones physically that crossed the border or immigrated.
Yeah.
And their mission was to bring us here to give us that opportunity.
Yeah.
And so then that was what it was all about. It was just make sure that you see the opportunity to school, go to study. And so then when I was going to abandon that ship, I could imagine on the receiving end as a parent, I was like, what the fuck are you doing, bro? Like,
that's exactly why we came here, for you to do exactly what you just managed to accomplish.
And so at the beginning, it was a lot of like doubt. It was a lot of like, you're tripping. You went to that conference and you're on a high right now. Yeah. Like,
what did they give you?
It's going to burn out, come back in 6 months. But now they've gotten to see the growth, I think, growth. More so, probably not financially. I don't know. I don't think they know how much, we make and stuff. But they've probably seen a lot more growth in me, like the development, I would say. But that's been pretty cool to kind of experience.
¿Qué tal con tus siblings? ¿Cómo te las llevas?
Good. Really good. I have an older brother, married, has a daughter now, and older sister, and then a younger sister. Mm-hmm. And
are you closer to anyone else?
Not necessarily one more than the other, but I would say definitely like my sister inspires the fuck out of me, because so story about my sister is when I was maybe, I don't know, in my early 20s, right after college, we were working in the grapes. So her, my mom, and my brother at the time and my pop was a supervisor, so he'd pull up in the trucks. We were all working in the grapes. And one day after work day, we get home and she's like complaining about not being able to feel her legs. And so we're just like, estás bien mensa, like, you're just walk it off, right? Like, como fucking any typical Mexican brother.
Yeah.
Well, come to find out, she has to go to the hospital, and she had a herniated disc. So the herniated disc was pinching one of her nerves. Long story short, since she had to have surgery, nerve damage, had to learn how to rewalk.
Damn.
That led to an ACL injury, which then led to an ankle injury, and she's probably had more than like 9, 10 surgeries.
That's crazy.
From her back to her knees and ankles, and I've got to see her carry forward with life, like just with a graceful attitude, gratitude attitude. And so I feel like a lot of times we, depending on our point of view, we like make these little issues big things, and then you see somebody else that's dealing with, like, if you were just walking in your shoes, how would that feel like? And it's like, fuck. So like thinking that about her, like it inspires the shit out of me to see that, like her just carry forward.
A mí Mari fue esa persona para mí. She was the one doing what pretty much no one in the family had ever done, which was, first it was being independent, super young.
Yeah.
College.
She was a trailblazer.
She was a trailblazer, bro.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful to now be on this journey with her.
But at first it was, you've shared that at first it was a little bit intimidating.
It was really hard, bro, because...
Yeah, you couldn't live up to it.
No, porque siempre me comparaban con ella. And she had done everything, like, the timeline was crazy. 16 independent, first one to go to college, graduated in 4 years, landed her career right away, like her teaching job right away. Traveled the world, un desmadre, bro, and they wanted me to do it at like a similar timeline. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
No. You know.
Yeah.
¿Qué tal hablando un poquito de la compañía? ¿Cómo has mirado tú? You've been through it all, bro. I mean, since we started.
I walked in the back door and I never left.
How has that been? Like, what comes to mind when you think of where we were, where we're at, and now that, you know, we're pretty clear on the growth path and where we're heading? What comes to mind?
Well, it's been incredible to see, man. It's been incredible to see all the things that you said would happen, right? Because, I mean, you've always been an amazing leader. You've always transferred the vision. You've always had that pull back curtain approach where maybe sometimes you share more than you probably should or other leaders would. Yeah. But that's just your approach. And so then from the very beginning, you know, you transferred that vision of what we were looking to do with the company. We were a build to sell. We remain a build to sell. And it's been really cool to be one of those people, like, you know, following, like you said, down that jungle right behind you, and really just following in your footsteps and doing the same thing for the people that are now following mine, you know, that are in my team, or the next waves of LOs that have come over the course of the last year. So it's been really cool to watch you. Like, I'm very, very analytical in the sense where I see everything that happened and how it did. Meaning, you were an LO, a really good producing LO, probably not the best at structuring files. Just really good at
That's true.
You were high really good with networking and relationships, and then you hired an assistant for that, right?
Yeah.
But you shared the fact that, like, you just needed somebody to help you. And so then I think it was Meli that, like, was kind of like your running mate.
Yeah.
And so then you had Willie there mentoring you, right? And so due to that fact of not having a lot of support, your vision was to create a space where there would be a lot of support. Mm-hmm. And I think, and I see that, and we have that. Like, you've built a company where it's just a bunch of brothers and sisters that are team players. And if they're not, they'll stick out like a sore thumb. And it's just full of a bunch of good people. It's like literally everybody in the company I would invite to my house, and I would let them sit at my table and have dinner with my kids. And that's pretty cool to see, because I'm sure there's companies out there that either A, they don't know everybody in the company, and I know that eventually we'll get to a size where maybe we won't either. But as of right now, like, we still know everybody that's joining. They're all pre-screened really well. They all fit the culture. They're the right people that will be in the right seat. They align with the core values. And so then you know that they're going to be, there's no bad apples. Mm-hmm. So it's been really cool to see that, and just see you continue to be a fearless fucking leader and lead us to where we're going.
What do you think gives us an edge compared to what we could label as competition?
Yeah. I feel like we're playing in a different game. I feel like if you put the companies, you know, even at least maybe the small broker shops in the Central Valley or, you know, the Northern California, like a lot of them are probably just plain sales.
Yeah.
Like meaning they're probably just in the next closing game. And I feel like we're not. Like you can't even compete with us because you guys are just closing loans, right? And we are too, don't get me wrong. Like we're closing loans, but we're also building leaders. We're also changing lives. We're also...
what does changing lives mean? What does that mean? What does developing leaders mean? Like, so, because it may sound just plain.
Yeah. Yeah, well, changing lives, I can just use myself as an example, right? As I mentioned in the beginning, the previous Alex was walking around with like the light switch off. A lot of people go through life with their light switch off the entire time, just apagados, right? And so it's not until something or someone comes and enlightens you. And to me, that person was you, right? You showed me an opportunity. You were open to teaching me whatever you knew at the time and to the best of your abilities, and said, hey brother, look, here's this vehicle that I'm starting, and this is where I want to go with my company, and come in, I'll teach you what I can. I'll be a good friend. And so then in essence, you changed my life because I also did my part, right, in learning and developing and producing, and right. But if somebody doesn't give you that opportunity, or they don't see that thing in you that maybe at the time you don't even see in yourself, the trajectory of life would probably go in a completely different path. We know what the power that this vehicle that we do in mortgages has the capacity to do, the income potential that it has. And so then therefore, whenever we get people with good hearts that fit our core values, that maybe have nothing to do with, like a lot of companies will probably just hire seasoned LOs. Mm-hmm. And I'd like to think that 90% of our company started off knowing nothing. Like they didn't have they were not an experienced LO. Maybe like a couple of them had processing experience, but most of our guys or gals that are kicking butt or just in the company started as a new LO. And it's probably because somebody like yourself gave them an opportunity, or now somebody like, you know, myself bringing people on. Mm-hmm. So that's what change lives means to me, is you're giving, you know, you're looking for good-hearted people that have the drive, that want to change, and they're good students and they're coachable, and you help change the trajectory of their life. Developing leaders, well, like I said, I think most brokers or broker owners probably give the basic trainings that their people need to succeed in sales. And so then there's a lot of companies that are just comprised of a bunch of salespeople, which I've been for the last 5 years, but I can say that being a salesperson and being a sales leader are two different animals. And if there was some sort of like, okay, you know how like in fucking Madden or like in NBA 2K, or you got fucking speed and you got shooting abilities, or like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if we had those key metrics for people in the company.
That's so good.
You see what I'm saying? So imagine, okay, well, sales skills, most companies probably have, okay, yeah, your rating for sales is at
87,
91.
91.
But where's your leadership? Yeah. Where's your soft skills? Where's your, you know, and those are the categories that we're working on. So all of our people are really well developed because we have fucking fantastic leadership. And we're not just playing the sales game, we're playing the level up in all areas of life game.
I consider this
¿Sí o no?
a development center. Y pues se siente bien bonito mirar que se están desarrollando todos.
Who inspires you, like now?
Goku.
Oh, he's so sick, bro.
Goku and Jesus?
Goku and baby Jesus. Yeah, es que a lot of people need help, bro.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
I need help, and I pay for it. I pay a lot for it. I think most people aren't gonna pay a lot for it, but I want to make it a little more accessible, specifically to everybody in the company. Because if we have someone that can look at you in their fucking eye, in your eyes, bro, and be like, hey, carnal, you're lying, dog. You're a fucking lion. That's how I remember that conversation with him. Yo me acuerdo que este cabrón se hacía slouch, bro, así como se hacía chiquito because I'm shorter and everybody else in the company was much shorter than him. Y yo le decía, put your fucking shoulders back. Put your fucking shoulders back. And I would look at him in his eyes and I was like, don't, well, Chris called it, do not, como dice, do not drop yourself to the common denominator. You show up. Matter of fact, it's our job as leaders to uplift those around us. So you fucking get your shoulder, get your fucking head up right here. Hey, bro, you got it. You're good.
Yeah.
We all need that, bro. We all need someone to fucking, hey, okay, so then now that needs to be checked off. But here's what we need to be doing different. And the whole, I don't know, the whole strategies that we're working on, making sure the plays that we're helping our people run is really good shit, bro.
Yeah.
It's really good shit, and it makes all the difference.
And that's exact. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, something as simple as like what we had earlier today, where we tell our people, hey, tienen que chingarle bien bonito, especially at the beginning, all of us that are trying to get our business off the ground. But we do have to go on these 90-day sprints and then pump our fucking brakes to work on our business, have a mentor that's in a seasoned business that we're aspiring to get into, oversee what we're thinking of doing, what we're processing, help us put the game plan for the next 90-day sprint. And then you go and attempt to execute on that. I think that a lot of people, bro, especially in our industry, are living their same 6 months over and over again. It's like summertime, we know it's a little more business. And then winter, it's supposed to slow down. And then the next year es algo similar y pasan 2, 3, 5, 10 años, 15 años y ahí se la llevan, bro, porque no tienen el muscle desarrollado de pumping your fucking brakes, having the vetted mentors, paying the top dollar to see what the fuck you're doing, what the big opportunities are. You talked about leaks. To make sure that if we're going up and down, it's actually up and down, but like from 250, 450, 1 mil, 5 mil. On what we see right now on paper, we're gonna break 8 mil this year. And we were actually looking to be a little lower than that. It's been incredible, bro. It's been incredible, and it's because we have those pauses and we work a lot on the business.
Yeah, and a lot, honestly, I feel like a lot of it has been because of your great leadership. Because there's companies out there that have leaders like the ones we used to know, where the advice that they're giving is like, I mean, yeah, it's cool for a little bit, but when you're new and you don't know the difference between your fucking ass and the back of your hand.
Yeah.
But eventually when you become a little bit enlightened, it's like, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? What do you mean? Like,
yeah.
So I know that we experienced it. Talk a little bit about that. Talk a little bit about what drifted you away from the company that we used to be with.
Mira, bro, yo lo que he aprendido en estos últimos años es que como que más raza, more of our people, more of the people that are in the lower to middle class are realizing that there's more. And now I see that there's a big pool of people that are interested in like, okay, well, what the fuck do I do? I don't want to be part of the middle class community. I would love to know what that whole financial freedom thing is all about. But there's a lot of bullshit in the market, in the marketplace. Ahorita fue Jera y su amigo Alexis at 10X. Le dije, fellas, before you guys invest in anything that they try to sell you, run it by me real quick. I would love to give you my perspective, because a lot of the people there are just, it's a fucking pitch fest.
Yeah.
In our events, I actually don't even like people pitching shit. It's genuinely to share and to give back. But the masses, which is the 80 percentile, all of these people that are newer into entrepreneurship and they want the help, are willing to pay and do pay, but are still not developed enough to be able to vet who they're investing into or what they're investing into. There's a lot of bad advice out there too. There's a lot of great people, but there's even more shit that's out there that's not allowing us to really gain traction.
Yeah.
And to get something going enough to where people stick around long enough to see the progress.
Yeah. So talk about that, like tactically, meaning So the part of that advice that we were given
So-
at the beginning. So Andy and I don't know what year it was had a Lamborghini,
Yeah.
right? And then you found new vetted mentors that were like speaking a different language, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh shit, yeah, like actually that was probably not the smartest thing. Now we're talking about commercial properties or residual income or passive income. Like you invest first, then that pays for your Lamborghini.
Yeah.
So talk about that shift.
Yeah, so I had a nice Lamborghini, I had a nice Rolls Royce, and I thought it was the coolest thing. One, because it was on my dream board as a kid, but two, it was what my mentor at the time was telling me to do. When I had those toys, I was also generating more money, which allowed for me to invest into other events, other workshops, going to Patrick Bet-David's.
That's the interesting thing about you is that the you were making more money, but you were still investing it in
An
developing.
education, yeah. Es que yo estaba bien consciente, bro, que desde niño quería salir adelante, pero sabía que ocupaba a alguien que me guiara.
Yeah.
Like, I need help, bro. I'm conscious of that. Who can help me? So as soon as I started making money and I saw some people were bona fide that were legit, share their lessons, their, you know, whatever they had learned, where they were running events. I saw that the price tags were pretty expensive, but I was always willing to trade dollar for info.
Yeah.
Y cuando empecé a conocer a gente en esos círculos, noté que tenían otro tipo de estrategias on how to go about buying these toys. And they would just say, make sure it's not active money that's funding any of these toys that you're purchasing. Have it be passive. Have it be your real estate investments that funds all of that. And it's not what I knew initially. So then, you know, it's one of those things that you don't know any better.
Yeah.
But what has been my strategy is just to always seek the information more than like trying to protect, I don't know, the money. Because when we get the info, you're actually able to bring more value to the marketplace, which then gets you compensated accordingly once again, and you end up even with more money. But yeah, I mean, eso de la compañía donde estábamos, bro, it's all a learning lesson. I think that in my heart of hearts, I think that they truly believe they're doing the best thing that, you know.
Yeah. And you know, another thing that has been interesting to see the shift in you, like you mentioned in front of me, has been the Andy go from, and I think it has to do with everything with the people that you've surrounded yourself with, like Chris Aguilar, like Hector Padilla,
Yeah.
like Tim Story,
Yeah.
like those mentors that now Andy's married,
Yeah.
you know, now Andy has a wife, and eventually, I'm sure you're planning on having some kids, and that's been interesting to see too, like just changing your.
What do you notice different?
Well, not much. I mean, as far as your character is all the same, but the cool thing, the cool thing about you is that you started teaching about marriage before you even got married.
That is so funny, bro.
You know, you're like, when I'm a husband, I'm gonna, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no, es que, mira, cuando estoy con Pat, one of the things that they made clear is that most of the challenges that we're gonna face as entrepreneurs and what his leaders face are little situations there with their significant other. So I already knew that there was gonna be similar things happening with me. So I was asking questions and all that way before.
Mm-hmm.
So anytime it would come up, I always felt like, well, I know I'm not married, but I've been studying this topic.
Yeah.
You know, let me just put this out there. I like to think it was pretty good shit. And not because it came from me, but because the source that I got it from was pretty legit.
Yeah, it's always been good shit.
Yeah.
Where do you see Andy? And let's say,
Ese vato.
I think 10 years is too long.
No,
but let's
bro.
say-
It's because bro, that guy, let me tell you. Bro, think of how much you've progressed in 5 years.
Yeah.
5 years ago, bro, I would have fucking, yeah. I would have a lot of advice for that guy. And 5 years before that, no, hombre, bro, cállate. So what I get really excited for? I think that if anybody is not subscribed to this, there's a big problem. There's a big opportunity. But if we do not believe that our best days are ahead of us, that's a problem. I'm very excited. You know, we'll talk about aging and all that, but I truly believe that the best days are ahead of us. And it's got a lot to do with how I feel about the person that I look at in the mirror every fucking morning, bro. That motherfucker's an animal. And when we think of the wheel of life, it's because of how much we're developing in all of those, bro. It's like, you know, those rankings that you're talking about? Mm-hmm. Every fucking year they get a little better, bro. And I'm just thinking like, ese vato es un perro, bro. But mainly because there's conscious on that. There's intentionality, you like that word. In like having my mentors bring awareness to what areas of my life I need it. I like to think that I have a good ability to do those self audits, and I usually do with my people as well. I'm pretty good at like, hey bro, don't sleep on this or don't sleep on that, don't sleep on. But the mentors also help, and every year it's getting stronger and it's getting higher and it's making me feel so much pride, so much more proud of the man I'm becoming, that 10 years from now, bro, no, hombre, bro. I can imagine how many people I'm going to be able to impact in a positive way. See, bro, I respect that guy so much, bro. I respect that guy so much. He's a fucking savage. Because I know I'm going to keep studying, bro. I'm going to keep working on myself. I'm going to keep being a great human being. The reputation is going to be that of like, that is a fucking quality man, bro. That is a good fucking dude. That's who I want to be, bro. So I'm so excited to be fucking that Andy 10 years from now.
I think you're going to be a great dad.
Yeah, no, my kid's fucking little lucky motherfucker. Yeah. So get ready because we're going to need a Nino there. Come through and fucking teach them why they call you the GOAT.
Yeah. Well, I know that we have a lot of these conversations. Sometimes they're not recorded, but it was fun.
Yeah. Hopefully we do this more, brother. It's an honor to have you in the company, leading the way as the motherfucking GOAT.